How do you handle today's music that isn't family friendly when it comes to schools or weddings where the contracted parties want very clean versions? Cubby, what do you do?
Well, I really subscribe to promo only, so it's not really. I tell my clients that the edits that I have are the radio edits, the same edits they hear on the radio. So if you hear a damn or a hell on the radio, or maybe a shit, it's going to come out during the song. But they're all radio edits, and they seem to be fine with that. But then go. I'll let you to tell you what you do.
I'm the same way, but before I go the other direction I thought of with this, there is one piece I think that's worth considering or worth kind of keeping in mind, right? I love promo only. Don't get me wrong. They don't have everything. And unless you've been with them for X amount of time, what we're starting to see with some of these schools is older songs because of TikTok or whatever starting to pop up. So, and you've been doing this long enough, it probably is rare that this happens. But what do you do when they're asking for something you don't have and it's not new enough to be in your pool?
Then I'd probably go to an Amazon and buy it off of Amazon. Also, Parma only has isn't that new service? I'm with them. They have backlog catalogs for 99 cents or cheaper, and you probably edit it as well, maybe because they're kind of edited.
So there is both.
I,
So
I
it's
would look. I would look
ILM.
for that first.
Yeah, it's ILM is I Love Music, I think is what it stands for. It's an overseas company. Definitely want to check that out. If you're on promo only and for some reason you still haven't found it, or if you're looking for a way to have a legitimate source, that's a place to go. They do have explicit, so you do have to be careful, right? You have to make sure that you're looking at it. It is marked, right? If it's an explicit version, it is going to be marked. So you do have that to keep in mind. But right, it gives you another option, because the one thing I found with Amazon, and this I ran into this not this past weekend, but the weekend before, I had a mother son dance. I think it was a Meek Mill song. For those of you that know, this is like a rapper. I have no idea why it was this song. Like, I listened to it, I'm like, there's no way this anywhere in anything fits into like a mother son song. But when I went looking for it, it did not exist anywhere that I could find in a clean version. Amazon only had the explicit. It wasn't in any of my pools. It wasn't on ILM. It wasn't. It was even iTunes only had the explicit. It just did not exist anywhere that I could find a clean version. When I asked, I got lucky. When I asked the bride, suddenly the song changed to like "Shine Down." I'm like, okay. But it was just one of those weird things, and I'm like, there are some things that you can do. So, by the way, real quick here, because a selfless plug. If you are wanting, especially if you're doing some school dances and things like that, if you're wanting to stay up on some music charts, John and the team have done an amazing job of taking the guesswork out of it for you. You don't have to go searching for a Spotify like top 100 or a Billboard top 100 or anything like that. So there's a couple different ones. You just go to djntv.com/charts, and there will be links to Billboard, YouTube, Spotify, and then there's those are go to PDFs, but then there's also a link to Apple Music and their chart. So you've got like 4 different charts that you can take a look at and see, okay, what's trending and what is something that I need to make sure that I have, or make sure that I have access to that's clean. Now, when it comes to the clean music, another option, if you are diehard needing to play the song, I think it's time to learn how to run editing software. I think that's really going to be key. I've heard some people, and I think this is maybe going a little extreme, but I've heard some people dropping their tracks into Virtual DJ or to Serato, running stems on them so that they can then pull out the music and mute those places they need to mute, basically making their own edits. That's a lot of work. But if you have a song you're just die hard, you need to make sure that you're playing, that can be a place to go. Before we go on to the next one, because I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I think it's the one question that I wanted to come back to you, Cubby, with this, and this is what we talked about a little bit off air before we got started. What do you do, especially for the schools, where it's not just radio edit, but it's also content?
Yeah, I really play the safety card on that one. When I look at those type of families when I'm meeting with them and the couples in schools, um, I'm not going to play hotel party, hotel room party from Pitbull at a school. Yeah, I know it'd be very popular, but we talked about taking back to the hotel room and all the things that happen in the hotel room. I just don't, if they're asking for family friendly edits, then they probably want family friendly content as well. There's 1,000 songs out there that will help you um, get through a dance like that.
And I think that's one of the things you do need to consider. If the couple or the client or the school, whatever might be the case, has kind of really pressed that on you, I think it's important. Obviously look for the squeaky cleans if those things apply, but be cautious to your content. I think it's okay for certain things, depending upon what group it is. I think it's okay for at times things to slip through, but when the overall content to the song is, risque, I think you do have to be cautious to that. And the example I'll give would be um, Kesha and Pitbull doing Timber, right? There's a line in there, I think about a thong or something like that. I can't remember what it is. And some of you were like, really, you're being that nitpicky? I almost played it for an elementary dance because it was requested. And I remembered that line where I think that because that would have created some problem there, right? Play it at a high school, no big deal, right? So keep those kind of things in mind for when you do that. And then I know some high schools don't even care about any, like they're just as long as it's a radio edit, they don't care. But for those that want that family friendly piece, there's the piece. Yeah, Eric, I agree with you. So Eric's comment, the sad part about it, the cleanest MP3 you can find, your audience is still going to sing the profanity and loud. You can't win. Yes, you can. And here is how I can say this. If they do, it's not on me, right? Like if have your music up. One of the things I've seen some DJs do is they'll take the lyric out, right? Well, guess what ends up like they'll bring the music down so that like that's how they edit the whatever the profanity is. One, that you're asking for trouble in case you slip up, but then two, you bring that down, and if they are singing that loud, now everybody's going to hear it. So if you're going to create an edit, don't create an edit where it's suddenly muted out, like everything's muted out. Make an edit to where it's the music is still loud and you're overpowering what you can, and then it's also very clear that you played the correct version. And because I've had that happen one time where they came back to me and they're like, we heard this, and I'm like, I can guarantee it wasn't me, and I'll show you my playlist and you can listen to each one of my tracks if you want. And they found out what they heard was the students, wasn't me. So anything else you want to add on this? We harped on this quite a bit, but
No, no.
all right. So we're going to pause for a second again, and then we're going to come back with our next question.